Wars and rumors of wars. Marching, fighting. Marching, dying. One more battle, one more war. This army, locked in conflict for 100 years, is still fighting life's most important battle, the redemption of body and soul. Speaking for the Salvation Army, General Eva Burrows.
It is our business to be among the deepest hurts of our world. Where the suffering of people is at its worst, there the Salvation Army ought to be at its best.
The Army's founder, General William Booth.
We saw the need. We saw the people starving. We saw people going about half naked, people doing sweated labor, and we set about bringing a remedy for these things. We were obliged. There was a compulsion. How could you do anything else?
It was the human tragedy of London's East End which summoned General Booth. In 1912, though Booth was gone, the Army was on the attack in 58 countries. 58 has now become 90, with help and hope for 2 million families each year. In 127 languages, the gospel is preached. The Army's war strategy, taken from God's word, has become courageous and militant. In the 1880s, when persecution of the Army was common, Joe Garibed, a militant Salvationist known as Joe the Turk, challenged local laws forbidding outdoor evangelism. Stoned by mobs, roughed up by arresting officers, and jailed some 57 times, Joe and San Diego's Captain May Hansen knew what it meant to be arrested for Jesus' sake. Besides courage, the Salvation War needed money. San Francisco's Captain McPhee set a goal to feed 1,000 of the poor on Christmas. He borrowed a crab pot, set it up at the Oakland Ferry, and asked for help. That crab pot has become the Christmas kettle, and because its bell still rings, San Diego feeds 2,000 of its poor every Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. Many early day battles are still being fought. Very frightened and rejected pregnant women sought refuge in homes set up by General Booth's army in England. The same compassion for mothers-to-be is found at the Door of Hope, San Diego's oldest home for pregnant teens. Echoing General Booth's cry for soup, soap, and salvation, today's Army fights to comfort the sick, house the homeless, feed the hungry, remember the prisoner, love the aged, care for the young, and protect the helpless. They fight with love. But are the old generals' convictions strong enough today, or are we fighting a losing battle?
The government should take care of these people.
I don't feel guilty. It's not my problem.
And I'm just one person. I can't save the world.
Substance abuse has a devastating impact on our workforces and often alienates our children. We've found that where there's drugs, there's major crime problems. The only long-term alternative that we know of to jail for the drug abuser is rehabilitation.
The Army's rehab program takes in the abuser, gets him clean, keeps him off the streets, lifts his self-esteem and his soul. The Adult Recovery Center was remodeled in 1980, and 50 more beds are still needed. How do you reach youth before they soak up drugs and alcohol?
There's pressure at school. I can get drugs, but I don't get near it. I got better things to do.
The Army's community centers help kids feel good about themselves.
At camp last year, I passed my bird study and swimming badges. I'm getting my personal health badge next.
Sunbeams and Girl Guards take on projects like visiting shut-ins.
Our girls work as a group, but we want each to gain confidence in herself.
The Adventure Corps reaches into the roughest neighborhoods and finds boys who need to learn about respect for themselves and others.
It took 2 hours to get to the top, but we made it.
The last major community center renovation was 30 years ago. Expanding programs need more space.
I'd like to add extra rooms and tutoring so my young people could get ahead with their schoolwork.
A society is judged by how it cares for their young and aged.
I wish I didn't have to worry so much. The rent keeps going up, and I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, I never feel safe anymore. The older I get, the less I can do for myself.
The Salvation Army and the federal government are building low-income residences called Silvercrests. These apartments never cost more than 1/3 of a senior's income. They're comfortable, safe, and managed by Salvation Army staff. The first Silvercrest in San Diego County was built in Oceanside. General Booth said to Victorian England that if a workhorse falls, it's helped up, fed, lodged, and given a job. If this can be done for a horse, why not for a man? Our successes are being outweighed by our failures. A growing underclass that is underemployed, ill-housed, underfed, living in our parks and on our streets. They're young and they're old. They're refugees in a land of plenty. Where are they in the Army's second century? The Salvation Army has a plan, a long-range plan calling for a new step of faith. The Army must double its capacity for homeless families in its emergency lodge. It must expand its casework to break the cycle of life in shelters and life back on the street. Next to the lodge, the Army will build a high-rise for 350 seniors in beautiful Center City, San Diego. The Army must build more Silvercrests next to core community centers in El Cajon and Chula Vista. Each center will keep seniors busy and serve a noontime meal. The Army must serve the North City areas better with the new San Diego Corps. The Army's temporary corps in Oceanside will be moved to a permanent site next to the new Silvercrest. Soon, young people from the Corps and seniors from the Silvercrest can share with each other. Army centers in Escondido and Chula Vista are full. Both are in the center city and both serve their neighborhoods.
We decided to remodel and stay where we are. Our youth and our seniors need us right here.
Our Salvation Army in San Diego is international because we're so close to the Ejército de Salvación in Tijuana. Meet Alfredo, who grew up an orphan on Mexico's streets. With the love of God in his heart and the Army at his side, he's now Cadet Alfredo Lopez, studying to be a Salvation Army officer. I believe our second century challenges us to find more Alfredos in the streets of San Diego.
These are the sights that Jesus saw: the poor and the hungry, children, widows, the lonely and the sick and the unsure, the exposed and the frightened. God found a man and his wife with soul-saving vision. Today's Army sees the same vision and fights the same fight. It's an army of soldiers. It's an army of volunteers. It's an army of love. An army meeting the challenge of a second century.